and that was, so that's the James West and all those,
Tyrone Jones, Joe Poplawski, James Murphy. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh God,
Chris Walby.
I'm looking at
Stan
those.
Mikowas.
You can't even, I'm looking at that, because they were so fast. I mean, that's the one thing about the CFL and defense that you just got to love. There's always an aggressiveness to it. Guys who come off the edge, maybe they're considered undersized for other things. No, not in this league, because boy, I'll tell you. And we had Tom Burgess on. I said, oh no, it was Walby. I said, boy, I've never seen anyone go down as much as Tom Burgess did. And Walby goes, yeah, Richie, thanks for that. But now we have a man, boy, he did not get beat off, and whether he was on the field or, quite honestly, as a coach, now going to be in the Football Hall of Fame, the Canadian Football League Hall of Fame, Orlondo Steinauer, known as Coach O. Coach O, how you doing? And congratulations.
Absolutely.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on, and thank you for saying my name correctly. That is rare. Mike, that was awesome. Good morning, Dave.
Well,
good morning, Coach.
Look, as a longtime Ticats fan, if I get a name wrong, and my father, who was, get a load of this, was actually taught by Ivor Wynn. My dad says, you're old when you're sitting in a stadium that was named after one of your professors. Certainly all the good old days. Now let's, and I think that, because I think we've talked once before, and I'm just always so engaged when I talk about the guys, where they come from in our league and how they came to get there. And I'm looking at Linwood High School. So people here in Canada, so they understand, if sometimes we talk about the Everett Silvertips, I would think from Everett, how far would you have been growing up from there? That couldn't have been very far.
Wow. So Everett's probably about 30 minutes north of Seattle, where I grew up. So that's impressive.
Yeah.
Everett's got like Dennis Erickson. They've had a few people go through there.
And it's a great look for people who geographically don't understand that area. I mean, you grew up in one of the most beautiful parts. I mean, I'm a little bit of a sucker, Pacific Northwest. Eighth grade was Eugene, Oregon for me.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. So I was a Duck. Still, I'm a Duck guy. So, and here comes the hate. But I just, Pacific Northwest I think it's one of the most beautiful places in the entire country.
And I'd be biased too, Mike. I always think, you don't even have to really love the outdoors just to appreciate what it is. I'll tell you what, spring and summer, there's really nowhere else you'd rather be. Now, there is that misty rain and gray sky in late fall, winter, that sort of thing. But I can remember this as flying in with people from like Tennessee, teammates from Tennessee, and we'd be flying into Vancouver, and they looked and they're just like, oh my gosh, look at those mountains. Like, look how green it is. And I'm like, what do you mean? But some people just truly haven't experienced all of that. They just could not really believe how green it was. They're like taking pictures. I got to show my girlfriend and wife. It was pretty impressive. So if you've never been, it's worth a squint anyway, in the spring and the summer.
Hey, Coach, huge congratulations on the honor of joining the Hall of Fame. I'm kind of curious, and I always ask some of my favorite players like yourself growing up and watching you play, and now doing the same sort of success as a coach in this league, which is fantastic. When you're in Western Washington and you're playing college ball, what does the radar look like for CFL? Because you're a senior, you're thinking, okay, do I continue on with football? And how do you get to the CFL? Because obviously that decision changed your life, because you're still thriving here north of the border, and we're very thankful for that.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, shoot, I love it. I always love getting going on with you guys. Always prepared with great questions and backed up. So, fortunately for a kid like myself, Washington, the state of Washington, always confused on the east end over here with Washington, D.C., but Washington State is a bordering state, obviously. So you did get some CFL action every now and again on your television. So it wasn't unfamiliar to me to just turn it on every now and again. And not that I understood everything, but it was something that I tuned into, even high school and in college sometimes. From there, you go to Western Washington, home of the Vikings. Little quick shout out. You're on KVOS TV 12. Okay, you're not on ABC. You're not, you weren't big time like the Ducks, even though I was a UW fan. So I won't hate on you there, Mike. But my great teammate, Kenny Wheaton, has probably the biggest play ever in the history against the University of Washington. So I can give a shout out to the Ducks. I can appreciate good football. Back to your comment, Dave. You go to Western Washington to be a school teacher or an engineer. It's no thoughts of professional football, to be honest with you. And for those who are unfamiliar, at that time, Western was an NAI Division II school. Now, that may not mean a lot to people up here, but if you think of NCAA Division I up here, and then the lowest tier of college football that you can play, which is about 5 down, that's NAI Division II football for those who don't understand it. So I think the stats say 1% or less than that of high school athletes play college, and then less than 1% go on to play pro of any kind. So just the fact that I had an opportunity to go to the Detroit Lions training camp right out of Western Washington, I mean, I had some impressive stats. So they had to come see what this kid up in Bellingham, Washington was up to. And from there, fortunately, Leo Cahill saw me at the Detroit Lions camp, who was scouting from Ottawa. And, he asked me to come on the practice roster. So that's kind of my quick journey there. And so it wasn't foreign to me. I wasn't real sure where Ottawa was. Again, I was on the other side of the United States, or North America, if you will. And I had to look it up. And as I've told a couple people, I was already enrolled in teachers college at that point. I was just kind of moving on, and I had a good run, and I was a little bit disappointed, and I don't mind saying it now, but it was painful at the time, guys. Think about it, for a guy you go to college and everybody's all state or all province or all everything. And then you go to the pros and you got the best of the best. And all of a sudden I'm lining up. I have Barry Sanders in my locker room. I got Herman Moore, the real thing. So from there, I just was kind of like, okay, I'm in teachers college. Well, Leo called and said, come out to the practice roster. I said, great. I continue pro ball. He said, it'd be $500 a week. I said, what? I thought I was pro. But hey, fast forward to now, guys, I can't believe that's an unbelievable honor. I'm humbled to be in the Hall of Fame. Canada is my home. Pinball said it best, and why not piggyback a great man like that, who did kind of coin the phrase, in my opinion, that he was American by birth and Canadian by choice. And that's kind of how our family ended up. And I think he summed that up beautifully. We're dual citizens, became landed in 2004, and just thought that this was a great place for our family to be raised.
Awesome. Well, you embrace it in the way, and which is why, as CFL fans, we just adore you. Like we love your type of human being. You're articulate, you're humble, but you're exceptional at the game of football. You have a love for our league and for the rules. You also, have that balance of again, that humanity and yet an understanding and competitive nature. Years ago, talking to Mike Riley and guys like that, and he comes by it obviously very naturally. There's this sense of level of play, but there's also this understanding of community, which I think, once Canadians, or I shouldn't say, Americans who kind of come be Canadian, they embrace, and they just everything about it, not just the league, the rules, but the cities that they play in. Let's face it, you can be down. I used to go down to Dallas quite a bit, and I remember going to a birthday party with this guy who eventually he goes to Mizzou, is where he went to school, and he gets a tryout for at the time I guess it was Arizona Cardinals, I think. So we're sitting there having a couple of drinks, bowling in Dallas, and so he starts asking about the Canadian Football League a little bit, and I said, well, we have teams like the Edmonton Eskimos. You have the what now? Yeah, the Saskatchewan Rough Riders, and get a load of this. There's 2 Rough Riders. There's 2 teams. He goes, how many teams in the league? Well, currently 8. Or whatever it was at the time. He goes, well, how do you, well, the look on his face, like it's not even the geography. Then I started explaining the motion. Then I started talking about the guys running all over the place and how big the field is and the end zones. Like there would be a lot of reasons to be at Western Washington. Understand that you're going to the other Rough Riders, and for $500 a week, and decide, you know what? Teaching is a good job. Teaching is a good profession. I don't need to go.
And that story is all too common, to be honest with you. I was thankful. I loved Ottawa. It was, I was just shocked at how clean it was. And I was only there 5 weeks. I was only active 2 games, played special teams. And I just thought when they folded, there was no chance I was going to get picked up in a dispersal draft. I mean, there just wasn't enough tape. It wasn't anything personal. And I think I ended up going 12th or something overall to Hamilton. And I think that next year I led the league in interceptions at corner. And that was kind of the jump start to my career. So I agree. I think if the Americans, when they come up, because a lot of them, the facilities, and now they're a lot better now, right? The facilities, the stadiums are beautiful. Everything's pretty much state of the art up here on a condensed version. But if you can just understand that, I think the key word that everybody leaves out when you talk about it is football. It can be Canadian football, but at the end of the day, it's football. And they blow the whistle and you still want to score points and prevent points, and you're going to run and tackle. And I know that sounds overly simplistic, but if that's what you want to do at 22 years old or 23, this affords you an opportunity. And I think in life, isn't that what we all want? Yep. An opportunity. It doesn't matter what field you're in. People always tell you why you can't and who you know, but once you have that opportunity, and that's all it is. And I always tell the players right now, there's 100 of us in this room, and we know we signed up to only keep half of you. And some of you are going to get cut here and go be all pro somewhere else because we're human and we make mistakes. And for some of you, it closes the door. For some it opens, and for some it's closure, and it says, okay, I'm moving on. And both can be positive if you have that mindset. So I think when you're American and you're at a big school and you're used to these fancy things, if you can just remember that it's football first, you have the best opportunity to, you said the key word there, Mike, and that is embracing what Canada has to offer in football and as a country in general.
Coach, I know we're running out of time, and we'd love to talk to you maybe in a couple of weeks about your team and so forth, if you're willing. But one final question for me. I love to ask Hall of Famers about this, but when did you get the call, and was it a surprise to you? Because you hear about people, I was making dinner and I got this phone call and it was so and so. So maybe tell us a quick story about that. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I'll come back anytime, guys. This is great because actually I do have a lot of time right now. So, I'll frame it quickly. It was actually late at night. It was about 8 o'clock at night. And I got a phone call from one of the committee members and kind of cut right to it and just said, hey, just want you to know you're in. That was the quote. You're in. And I said, in. It just kind of, and I did use the word numb, not because I was like, it was just kind of like, you're not expecting that call. My family's wondering who they're talking about, because they can overhear me. I went in the other room and I just was, they kind of explained the process and how hard it is to get in and so after it kind of sunk in, I was just kind of like, obviously in the most sincere way, I was just like, thank you for the information. And then kind of gathered my family around and they're like, what's going on? And I have to share this because it's just got kind of put a smile on your face. The last time I gathered the family up and I kind of brought them in the living room and I said, I got some news. It's going to happen. We're moving. We're going to California. We're going to Fresno State. And so I gathered them in, and our middle child, Raina, she cleaved in right away. She backed out of the way. She was like, where are we going? I go, we're not going anywhere. Dad's going in the hall. So that's my quick story.
That is awesome. Well, we're thrilled for you. We're thrilled that you made that decision to stay. As you said, as young men, that's your choice. You either move on or you go, you know what, I'm going to take a shot at this. I'm 22, 23. This is the time to take that shot. It's what has made our whole league, which is why both Dave and myself are in the fetal position every night, hoping that we actually get to see some games this year because last year was tough. We know it was tough. There are obviously expectations and so on, but we know we can't control the pandemic. The pandemic controls us, and all we do is hope and pray for what we think is the greatest league in the world. We just absolutely love it, and we hope to see it. And of course, we don't need to talk about the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and how they stole several years ago in a very controversial. In fact, I put some protests into the league. I wrote to Jim Lawson. He said, "I'm not the chairman of the board anymore. I'm not the chairman anymore." writing me about how the Bombers have stolen a cup. But we hope, Orlando, that and again, we'll talk to you hopefully down the road, get a chance to talk about some of these issues, but we got our fingers crossed. But at the end of the day, having you here this morning, talking about your induction to the Hall of Fame and your career here just absolutely made our week.
Yeah.
Hey, thank you very much. And I look forward to the next one. I really do appreciate your guys' support, and great job on the radio as always, guys.